So this guy has a question, or I guess a comment. He says, one of the main issues I've had has been that most of the places I go to, there are a higher majority of couples and groups of women. Single women are rare. A group just heightens the anxiety. Well, again, I'm an introvert also. I'm not saying that you have to, like, I suggested a lot of places and things you could do, right? But you have to know yourself. You have to know the amount of energy in the room that you're able to take realistically. And then from there, figure out how you can make that work. Because here's the thing. You can have all the excuses in the world. They're not going to help you meet women. So yeah, you could have anxiety around a lot of women. Fine. Be in a group where there's a shorter amount of women. Either way, you got to figure it out, right? But I have found that, because again, like this past weekend, I went to it was a women's event that I was filming at, right? And I'm always observant. So there are women in the room, they're boss babes, and they're making $100,000, $200,000 a year and all this other stuff. And I'm looking around and I'm always looking at hands. I'm always looking at women's hands, right? And I'd say about half the women there were still single and had nobody. And so that's an example of, like, in that environment, it's not hard to think of a thing to talk about. So I'm at a women's event, right? It's a women's award show. So I could hypothetically go up to a woman that I see that has no ring on and be like, hey, so are you here for one of the nominees, or do you know somebody that's personally here to win an award? Like what's your story? Why are you here? This is a natural conversation between just me and that one person. There were vendors at the event. I can go up to a female vendor, no ring on her hand, relatively around my age or so, and be like, hey, so tell me about some of the stuff that you're selling here. Like, oh, that looks really interesting. Like, how'd you get into this business? Oh man, that's great. You must have really felt proud when you got your first sale. Like, tell me what that was like. Natural conversation, and it's just me and her. It's not any other people but me and this vendor person right here. So I'm saying there are places you can go to where even there's a lot of people, ultimately you having a conversation with that one person is just you one-on-one with that person. Like, that's it. And there's a bunch of environments. The paint nights that I go to, those usually no more than like 15 people max. And like I said, I've seen a lot of single women at these paint nights, but you can realistically look up places where on average there's going to be more single women. You can go to like singles. They're literally, most cities have singles mixers. Like, I know I'm in LA, so I'm in a more populated city, but like LA regularly has singles mixers that happen every week. If you don't want to do singles mixers, fine. Again, like I mentioned, you can have certain hobbies. I had a friend of mine who she did kickball. She was in an adult kickball league, and a lot of people on that thing were single, and it was like mostly women on that too. So there are women that are already out there that are trying to get out and do activities in the hopes of finding men, because they recognize they can't sit at home and meet a guy. So they're trying to get out there and actively do stuff. And then you have men at home like, I don't want to do that, because if I go out, like, I mean, how do I know if she has somebody or not? Or every time I go out, there's going to be couples there, and I'm going to be the dude that's out of it. And everywhere you go, regardless of what the activity is, I can guarantee there's going to be at minimum 1 to 2 single women there. If not, then again, reassess the places you're going to and start looking at what places can you go to where there's admittedly a bit more of the single crowd. Again, it ain't got to be hugely populated, but also recognize that when it's you and a woman one-on-one in intimate moments, it doesn't really matter who else is there. Like, there were hundreds of people at this event that I went to, but when I'm talking to a vendor solo, when I'm going to a table to film something and there's a woman by herself sitting there and I can just start a conversation with her, that is a one-on-one interaction. That is nobody else but you two there, all right? But you can't make excuses if you're wanting to meet people. If you don't want to meet people, then you continue to say, well, but there's other couples there, blah, 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 because, and let's say hypothetically there are, right? All couples have that one friend that they know that's single that they wish would get with somebody if only they could hang out. In my circle here, I know I have a bunch of my friends have people that are in their lives, whether they're, husband and wife, whether they're long-term partnerships or whatever like that. And they'll be trying to plan like couples vacations, and they got that one friend that they really wish they could invite, but you know what? They can't invite her because she is not in a relationship. So now you go to an event, and let's say there's no other couples there. Let's say there's no single people there, right? But you're going to the event, and they meet you, and you kind of, obviously you want to talk to the husband first. You want to create a banter with him, and then he'd be like, that's real nice, dude. Hey, this is my wife, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and her wife's like, oh my God, I have a girlfriend that would be perfect for you. So now, even if you go into those events where it's mostly couples, you now have met some people that are allies in you getting a girl. So it's a win-win either way is what I say, So hopefully that helps you answer your question.
You need to call her on her cell phone when you want to ask her out. Don't text text her from your cell phone. Her hearing your voice helps out, but you say you prefer